Good evening. Welcome back to Potions of Soho. I'm JP Levac, artist and explorer. We're here at All Is Joy Studios. I'm here with my co-host, Alex Robson.
Okay, yep.
Hello.
Hello.
How are you this evening?
I'm well. How are you?
Cluttered the desk with
I
potions
know.
and the odd snack.
Yeah.
And we are on to our second episode, and we've got two wonderful guests. One with Italian heritage, one with French-Austrian heritage. First up, we have Markus Bassett. Good evening.
Good evening.
And second up, familiar to All Is Joy Studios, our bar manager, James Piet Barbieri.
Pete Barbieri, yes. Thank you for
said
having
it
me.
Yeah, well, great, welcome. And we'd like to get together once a week at the moment to talk about what and where to drink in Soho. And here we are with our Soho backdrop. Does anyone remember what the street is? You can actually see if you look closely.
It's got a centre point up there. So
Kingsley.
Kingsley, yeah, half of Kingsley Street, yeah.
We're on Dean Street, of course. Where are you, Marcus?
I'm based in the Savoy Hotel at the Beaufort Bar.
Oh, that's very smart, isn't it? Yeah.
Well, you do look very smart, yes.
Yeah, that's the reason.
Yeah.
Technically,
I think he's on his way to work. He
Yeah.
popped
Yeah.
in to see us.
Just say hi.
We were very lucky to get you before shift.
Yeah.
But the outfits there, I mean, the whole place is so famous, isn't it?
Yes, indeed. There's plenty of history over there. I mean, like it's over 135 years. So it's quite an iconic place in London.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we've paired you together as guests because we're sort of different stages in careers. And but you've been at it some time, but in London just for a few years, right?
Exactly, yeah. So I've been now for 3 years in London. So I started there in 2021, moved there in February, while COVID and a lovely Brexit just after it. So it wasn't the best time to move to UK, but I always wanted to come.
Yeah.
Because I started my career in Austria, and after 7 years being there, I thought like I need to see something bigger, and I've always been amazed by London and the bars. I mean, even like Soho has so many great bars. So.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about Soho then and your relationship to that, because it's you obviously know a wonderful Alex here, the king of Soho.
You do indeed, yes. Yeah.
Where would you head out to a little few of your hotspots?
Well, I think actually the first spot in Soho where I've been was Swift. I mean, it was quite an iconic time where it was arrived in February 2021. I think in March they started again to be allowed to see friends in parks, and just after the lockdown, we relaunched kind of bars but on the streets. Obviously, so most of the places didn't have terrace, so it was kind of interesting where like so had like those kind of pop up on the streets.
You mean the outside dining?
Exactly,
Yeah.
outside
Which
dining.
I think they're trying to bring back, aren't they? I think we're campaigning
I mean,
in
it's
favour of it. I mean, it's fun,
It's
isn't
an
it?
amazing concept.
Yeah.
I mean, like also was outside on the street. All street was closing down at 4 o'clock, and I remember I went on that reopening, and the street was mad. It was like every single street was packed with people drinking outside, and I went on that day to Swift and Termini because they were sharing the same kind of street.
Oh, yeah.
But
It
of
was
course,
fantastic.
Swift, that used to be Lab, didn't it? Which was
Exactly,
where
yes.
Douglas was.
Famous
Porn Star
yeah,
Martini.
The Lab.
Yeah, that was there.
For
That was
those that don't
conceived.
know, stood for London Academy of Bartenders, but had a quite nifty word as well, laboratory, and the idea of like training up. I mean, very famous institution. We're gonna talk a bit about trends over the course of the episode, but the Porn Star Martini.
Yeah, it
one of
was.
the top
It was
drinks.
the top drink in 2023. Cocktails,
last
yeah.
year's top cocktail.
Yeah.
So
So
the late great Douglas, who you got to spend a bit of time with
Well,
when you moved here.
Well, I wish I could have met him. I mean, the previous owner where I used to work for, James Robson, was a good friend of him. So when I first arrived in 21, he just passed away in August, so it was quite a sad time.
Yeah.
But I remember that time where I was on the pop-up on Head Street at Fallow and doing in August all the Pornstar Martinis. The fun fact about it was actually, it's especially Fallow's a system of restaurant, so we never did Pornstar Martini until that day because it was just like an iconic day, and I think it's a shame, but it's also his drink, just like his legacy as well. You know, it's a show what he's actually stand for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But so Old Compton Street is packed full of pubs as well, and bars. You spend time in pubs as well? We spent a bit of
Yeah.
our first episode. We were doing much more pub chat. Today we're going to kind of lean towards the bar chat.
I think so.
I think I've always been more laid on cocktail bars. It's also the main reason why I moved to London. It's always been amazed by how many bars you have and how the level is high actually.
Mhm.
So I spend most of my time actually in cocktail bars, to be honest. Maybe it's way too much. But you know, it's I think also it's how I learned my classics back in the days when I started bartending as well.
Yeah.
But obviously moving into the UK and London means as well to spend some time in pubs, and I think I had my first Guinness pretty much on one of the first weekend when I was there. And since then, kind of I fell in love as well with Guinness. Never had it before.
Yeah.
I've never been a big beer drinker. However, I spent 7 years in Austria and I actually started to drink beer here in London.
Yeah, but what do you think about beer cocktails? Because I believe that is a trend they think
Beer
should be happening this year. I mean, beer cocktails are weird. I don't know. I'm a bit dubious about it. Maybe it's wishful thinking on the trendsetters' part. I don't know. Have you had anybody asking for a beer cocktail at the Savoy?
Well, no, the Savoy actually. Funny-wise, we do quite a lot of beer as well. People quite still like their beer. Even though we don't have on the draft, we do bottles. But I think beer cocktails has been a trend since probably 5 years now. Or should be a trend since 5 years.
Yeah.
It's kind of the same story with rosé cocktails. You know, it's always kind of like...
Oh, it's happening.
Exactly,
Yeah.
yes. I mean, I remember having that chat 3 years ago on the pop-up when I was working, and I say, oh yeah, we need to have a beer cocktail on the menu. And I think one quite iconic drink is called La Garita. It's kind of margarita, highball style with lager on the top.
Interesting. What do you like that? Oh,
It's a bit funky drink. I mean, it's worth it to try it, but
yeah.
it's just like I remember like my first cocktail book what I had, it was a German-based cultural cocktail book, and they had the drink inside already, and they'd write the book I think 2010. So you know, I think it's somewhere like brewer maybe won't try to push that, but I don't know if it's really happening.
Okay, it's not okay. And I also think the other trend this year was meant to be kiwi cocktails.
kiwi.
Yeah, I mean, is this something you've come across? I mean, these are all predictions. I mean, these predictions went out in, I think, the 1st of January. So, you know, how are we doing? Any kiwi cocktails on your menu? James? Yeah. Markus?
I don't know. I've tried some. They're
Okay.
It brings that acidity out and sweetness, which works. But just in regards to the beer cocktails, I used to work for a brewery up in Cambridge Brew House, and we did try to do the beer cocktails.
Okay.
This was just before pre-pandemic. It just never kicked off.
Okay.
You know, it's one of those trends that want to happen, but just
never quite gets there.
Getting there, yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah. Okay. Have you ever had I've never had a beer cocktail myself.
Probably.
You have?
Probably.
Ah, guilty.
Hybrid maker.
I was looking at the trends list, and just the different glasses as well, and like, which do we think is the most popular cocktail glass out of the top 10?
Personally, I would say martini. Just because also what that report showed is that people like to take pictures of their drink, and the martini is probably the most elegant one.
Yeah. I think nearly half of the drinks consumed by 18 to 35-year-olds go on social media as a picture.
Go straight up.
Yeah,
on,
so it's you know.
What are we do? Are people? What about sustainability of people? Is there any idea of bringing your glass back so we don't have to keep washing them or all that? I don't know.
It's the Savoy.
Well, I mean, when you charge like between 20 and 25 quid for a drink, I think is like not a question. But who knows? Maybe, yeah.
We were just told. I was just told that our cocktails here at All Is Joy Studios are too expensive, and so your range in 20 to 25 at Savoy. We have a members rate, so we get 20% off for members, but ours are 14. Is that right, James?
14, yes.
So members, it comes down to about 11.
Yeah, I think that's about normal, isn't it?
Yeah, it's pretty much like I think Central London price. I mean,
they just, but then everyone's got an opinion. I said it's not really my call. I just know that we try and it's getting the pricing tricky.
But I mean, it's London prices. You know, it's I mean the cost of everything. You know, unfortunately, has gone up. You know, dramatically over the last year or two.
There was a lot of chat about the £5 coffee, which we don't do. Ours are still
Yeah.
less than 5.
But you see, I think personally the reason why cocktails are so expensive is because people, like to take pictures of it, but also like to see the bartender make the drink.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know how to Savoy, I don't know if you do all the funky tricks, throwing bossons up in the air, but people like to see that anyway, or even just to make sure they're doing it
The
correctly.
flair, they used to call it flair, right?
It's the theatre of the whole
Yeah,
thing,
it's-
isn't it? Yeah.
Used to be a big thing as well. I mean,
That's a trend
changed.
that kind of comes and goes.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think try to come and go. Especially, I think now it's more of a craft lead kind of style. I mean, I think the difference between the pricing is, I mean, I think £14 for a cocktail in London is actually a good price.
Okay.
Especially for a good cocktails, I find it completely fine. If compared to the market in Europe, the prices are quite similar. Even like, funny wise, I remember having a talk with some friends back in Austria with bar owners, and they compare the price to also London.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, even Vienna now, it's quite the same price. It's like around, for a good cocktail bar, you could pay like £16 for a drink as well. So I think it's just regular price. Hotels is always 5-star luxury, is a bit different. It can be otherwise better quality spirit involved, and most of the times as well with the service inside. The glassware is a bit more expensive. Even like all the furnitures and all everything around is a bit more luxurious, to explain the higher price as well, generally. But I think £14 is a pretty good price, to be honest.
We've got, talking of glassware, we've got some nice glassware on display dotted around. Is it time to ask someone to make a drink? Is that why we've got the drinks trolley today?
Well, we have. We thought James would give it a whirl. Yeah,
Fantastic.
I think
We
so.
should make a drink. There's some drinks around.
Yeah, I think James is. What are you going to make us, James?
I'm gonna make a Negroni, even though I'm a bit shy in front of the Savoy.
Manager.
There's no wrong way.
There's no wrong way. I mean, isn't that the point? There is no wrong way. I mean, I think the thing is, it's nice to be able to make these things at home as well, isn't it?
No, exactly.
Yeah,
And I
something-
think since
yeah.
COVID as well, it's happened more and more. I mean, since people have been locked up and had no option to go out, they had to find way how to have drinks at home as well.
Yeah.
My friend launched some 10, maybe 15 years ago, a thing called Cocktail in a Box, and he posted it out, and it's one of those.
I think they were quite popular during that
I
time.
think, but he did it like 15
Yeah,
years ago.
he was
And
the leader of the pack.
It was
Yeah.
one of those, he hated the project, and then I think during COVID someone else did it, or he sold the name or something. But yeah, it's
There's a huge market out there as well.
Yeah,
I mean, a pre-batched cocktail.
pre-batched, and
ARTD.
pre-batched Negronis is a
Yeah.
big thing as well,
Yeah.
isn't it? Or pre-batched things that can.
Yeah.
I mean, every pre-batch I think is kind of a cheat sheets from bartenders. I think a bar will not survive anymore without pre-batch. Funny wise, back in the days, probably pre-batch wasn't seen as great. It's been a time where probably I would say everything need to be fresh, but drinks easy like Negroni. I mean, it depends. We don't pre-batch Negronis, for example, for a simple reason, because we have such a wide range of cocktails, especially with Savoy. You expect to have any kind of classics, so it's like anywhere you have bottles behind the bar, but if you have maybe a bit more certain drinks laid, it's for the efficiency of the bar, it's definitely how.
Yeah, but I mean, I can always tell a pre-batch.
Yeah.
I can tell the difference. I tend to. I'm not a big fan of pre-batch. I must admit. I like my cocktails to be made in front of me, and
Yeah, sure.
because it's sort of the theatre of it. It's the rich. It's I just think it's I think when it's made fresh, it's better. I mean, I've had some terrible pre-batch in places where it shouldn't have been terrible. Yeah, and they're charging high prices for it. So I mean, I don't know. I understand the convenience for it if you're busy and you've got a really busy bar, but I think if you obviously if you go into somewhere like Savoy, you expect it to be made from scratch, really.
Yeah,
don't
no,
you?
absolutely, yes. I mean, especially classics.
Yeah.
And what about fruit? So I've got these.
Oh, before James finishes, any top tips on making a Negroni?
Well, Negroni, it's a fairly simple drink
Okay.
to make normally.
Yeah.
A bit more difficult to make it well.
Okay.
The trick to it for me is that obviously you've got the 3 ingredients. Gin, Campari, and I personally prefer Punta Mess. I know classically it would be a red vermouth, but to me the Punta Mess gives it a bit more body to it. And really what you want to do is, obviously it's a stir for about 30 seconds, but ideally what you want to do is not taste the gin, you don't taste the Campari, you don't taste the Punta Mess, you taste a Negroni in the end.
Okay.
Then of course
And
a
you've
nice.
obviously got King Soho gin.
Yes.
We have indeed,
The
yeah.
dry one. the blue one.
London Dry. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, good to see.
And obviously, as a garnish, it would be nice to have
Yeah.
a peel, which
Yeah.
I've got my colleague made
Yeah.
pre-made peels because
Pre-made.
last time I had a bit of an incident with a peeler.
Cool.
Yeah.
There we go. Okay,
I'm
thank
not gonna give
you.
it to you.
And we got the straws out, haven't we, to have a little.
Got loads of straws
yeah.
today.
Now this is where I always struggle because I normally just plonk my straw in and suck on it, but you're meant to do this thing where you can actually take it out of the straw, isn't it?
Yeah,
So I know, but I always try. It doesn't quite work. So if I go like that,
yeah.
do I put my finger on the
Well,
tip?
you put the straw in first.
Okay.
Then you lock as much liquid.
See, that's where I've been going wrong, isn't it?
Yeah, and then you just release the air and you got your drink.
That's nice. Do you want to try some?
Yeah, I mean, I know you with your straw, you use like a drink. I remember those days you used to go to the bar having an espresso martini for 2.
I know, with the straw. Yeah, I've got the pictures of that.
Delicious.
I want to know why.
But I mean,
King
what?
Soho dry and not King Soho other one. The red and not the blue.
Well, I think Markus can explain that.
Please.
Well, I mean, it's depending on how you want to go. I think it's, as we just say, is no right or wrong. It's especially as well your preference. A classic Negroni would be obviously with a nice dry gin, classic wise. I mean, we have also a nice strawberry flavored gin where like gonna be a bit lighter. Obviously, the strawberry gonna take a bit over the juniper. You still have a juniper there, but you still have kind of like lovely fruitiness into there as well. And that's where like a other category of gin come in place, where like kind of flavored. Generally, like flavored spirit is also quite popular as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing is, I think a Negroni traditionally is slightly bitter, and so the London Dry lends itself to that mix. Because the London Dry gin, it's literally it's a botanical infusion, and there's no sugar or anything added after distillation, apart from water when you kind of dilute it to dilute it to strength. But with the flavoured gins, I mean, this is a slightly off-sweet palate. I mean, it's got just a little bit of sugar in, just to marry the flavours, and it just makes it slightly softer. So you don't get the bitterness in the Negroni. So it just really depends on your personal palate.
And I was going to ask about fruit before we tried that, just because we've got these funny looking limes that have been put through a press, and I think they look like mushrooms, so I had those out. But Negronis with orange.
Yes.
But I was going to ask about pre-batching. So the trend that came in, because I was only a bartender in the 90s, really, we used real fruit. But the trend of the last decade has been this dried fruit.
Yeah.
Is that, where do we stand on that? Is that like...
I quite like it. The dehydrated. Yeah, if it's done well.
Where did it start up? Was it all about things going off and people trying to, or was it about looking better, or what's?
I'd like to start maybe on that one.
I mean, in my opinion, I'm not entirely sure, but I do believe it's all about looks. I mean, obviously, it still keeps the aroma of the lime or orange or whatever dehydrated fruit you have, but I don't think it. I think that's because it doesn't treacle into the drink. So, like, obviously, you would have a bit of zest on the peel, for example, in this Negroni, which pours into the drink, so it makes it a little bit more fruity. And maybe a dehydrated lime doesn't do that.
I sense that Markus is not into them at all.
No, I hate them.
Well, you don't like them? Oh, they look so pretty.
I can't say I didn't like them because, me being just starting bartending and finding super cool dry limes, it's just like, I want to do it as well because everyone was doing them. It's like, let's go for that. But when looking a bit more into it and actually the work behind it to make them, to produce them, but also and I think the best argument what I got about from bartenders, especially coming to me and say, let's do dry limes. And I was like, well, why? And they were like, because it's sustainable. And I was like, how come a dry lime going to be sustainable? Technically, it's cutting a fresh lime. We're going to dry, and I have to put back in the drink. We're going to get soaked wet, and I have to throw in the bin because no one eat them. Yeah. So it was like kind of like I didn't understand why, and I think it's way more like, especially me, young bartender, not understanding what's going on, was like, oh, cool, everyone do it, let's do it. And after, with more reflection, realizing that actually is no point into it, in a way that is more wastage. on the end of the day, it's like your lime, you need to press it anywhere for your fresh juice, right? So I don't think it's you need you take the fresh lime and you for margarita, for example, or put it on the top, and after you can use the lime if you want a bit more zing into it. So I think it's just overrated. Let's put it that way.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I quite like the dehydrated. I like the dehydrated orange and Negroni. It's different, isn't it? Yeah.
Soho quality fruit and drink, quality fruit and veg, which is on Berwick Street, and they're the only remaining fruit store on the street, and they are quality. Where do you get your fruit from? Do you know? From Soho?
Not from Soho, I'm afraid. Well, I haven't found my tree yet. Funny story, I used to get annoyed in Soho about Trafalgar Square, some fig leaves, but that's a different story. Overnight foraging, but yeah. No, actually, we get it from, we use classic fine food as a supplier.
Kitchen supplier.
Exactly,
as well,
yes. And exactly, what is a massive chain. So we get the lime and lemon from them, oranges as well. Obviously, through the years, come from different part of the world, to be honest. Especially citrusy is quite a tricky one. I think is being a bar and say I'm sustainable and using lime and lemon juice is also lying to yourself, because a bar cannot run without citruses. So it's also certain extent to it as well.
Yeah, you can grow lime and lemon in the UK in trees, but they don't grow so well.
I've got a lemon plant.
Yeah,
it's got the fruit.
Is limited.
It's quite robust. We were going to talk about sex on the beach, weren't we?
Sex on the beach.
Talking about your bartending.
Somehow landed at number 2, but the best thing about Sex on the Beach is in a pina colada glass, which, for those that don't know, is shaped like this. And then you get a straw, a bit of fruit, and an umbrella. You got an umbrella to show.
I've got an umbrella. Where's it gone? It was there. There it is. There's the umbrella. I've got my favourite umbrella. Yeah.
This is the only one on the top 10, top 9 actually, from last year's that has an umbrella. Why are we not using more of these, folks?
Love umbrellas.
It's up there with dried fruit for Markus, I can tell.
I think so. Here we go.
James, should we get these in all his joy? They're quite all his joy, actually.
Yeah, they're quite cute, aren't they? Yeah.
Do you know a quick fact about umbrellas? The parasols have been around since ancient time, thousands of years, and umbrellas are actually quite new. Like actual umbrellas to keep the rain off. And the Chinese waterproofed a parasol, and that gave us the umbrella, but only about 100 years ago. 150 maybe.
That's quite a cute one.
Okay, so we'll move on from that. And then you've got what they all call the high. This is a high ball, isn't it? This one.
Yeah.
Do they still get much play in classics?
They've got them on the diagram.
And then you've got the margarita glass.
We don't have.
Which is used for daiquiris as well.
Yeah.
We like those. And then at number 10, the Aperol Spritz, that sneaked in.
Yeah. I think that's the first time a branded drink has been in the top 10.
Oh, good fact.
Yeah, so, yeah.
We have got absolutely loads of Aperol from an event that, we've got. So we're excited because that's a spring-summer thing, right?
It's quite bitter, isn't it, the Aperol when you do the Spritz?
It's lighter than Campari.
I quite like Campari in soda.
Yeah.
I do actually. You look quite shocked.
I
must admit, I'm more, as Markus will tell you, I like my martinis.
Yeah.
We know that. Yeah, I do. Yeah. But someone did introduce me to Campari and soda. And it was quite pleasant.
I think, unfortunately, they're owned by the same company.
Probably.
No, they are.
Yeah.
It's one of those. You think they're competitors, and it's an old thing, but it's just the same company. Pretty much the same drink, nearly. Although it's a bit oranger.
Yeah, I was going to say Aperol's slightly more orange.
See, it's interesting about the Aperol Spritz, because in Italy, obviously, aperitivo time, that's between 6 and 7, everyone goes out for a drink, do a Negroni or an Aperol Spritz. But in Italy, the Spritz is either Campari or Aperol. They're sort of equivalent. And not to put the gender norms out there, but usually because the Aperol is sweeter, usually it's the ladies who order it.
Okay.
Because Campari is more bitter, the men usually drink it.
So I'm being alpha female, am I?
Yeah.
Okay. Damn, again.
White wine spritzes. And if
I was
anyone
never a big fan
queried
of it.
my manhood, I would refer them to the character in Donnie Brasco who drinks them. That's what he drinks. But that's something. We are heading into spritz season, aren't we?
Well,
Yeah, we're leaning to it. I think so. I mean, spritz has always been something bigger in drink, especially through summer. Funny wise, it depends where you are. Again, I think in London, because we're not so lucky with the weather, it's like more summer thing.
Yeah.
But it's like countries like even like closer to Italy is kind of it's a thing. I mean, when I used to work in Austria, you were selling more spritz than cocktails.
Okay.
yeah, but what are you classifying as a spritz? Because when I looked at this report, they were actually including, you know, say a spirit with a flavoured soda or tonic. Or
But that's I think
Yeah.
the traditional spritz were
yeah,
in Europe, in Central Europe, how you understand it's kind of either was a liqueur or a syrup or a cordial mixed with some sparkling wine or soda, and that's kind of the base of a spritz. For example, I mean, you were saying the wine spritz, for example, in Austria is the most wine drink is the wine spritz, which is like white wine, Grenadina, and soda, and that's even what I remember myself coming to London and say, finally gonna sell cocktails. You know, it's like you're a bartender. It's why also the reason you moved to London. You want to do cocktails. You want to go on that level, and you arrive there. You have a guest coming out. Can I get a wine spritz? And I was like, you're drinking as well.
Yeah,
it's like, oh. But I finished generally. You need to be fizzy or half fizzy.
okay.
It need to be quite a bigger glass, I would say, and based on liquor / cordial. Yeah, mainly.
But I think what we find now is there's a lot of flavoured tonics and flavoured sodas which are already quite sweet.
Yes.
So it's already sort of there. So I think maybe we're relabeling a fancy gin and tonic as a spritz.
Exactly.
I think there's a trend for that in the bars. So I think the purity of the spritz has gone.
No,
is that what we're saying?
I think definitely, yes. I mean, it just moved to a different level.
Yeah.
And even like it's just, you can do a Campari spritz as well. You can do anything.
Yeah.
I think it's more of the fizzy part and the glass were used for how it looked like.
Yeah.
Can we briefly touch on soft drinks, low and no, as some of the industry folk call it? We have switched to selling Coca-Cola in bottles, glass bottles, with a stripy straw. And our Coca-Cola sales have gone up, particularly to the office workers, because they all like it just looks cool, and they think it...
Well, it tastes better. I prefer Coca-Cola in a bottle.
Yeah.
I've actually noticed a difference.
They're coming down from the third floor and they're buying it at the bar, and they're going up to their offices and they think they're in the Coke ads. It was a good decision to go to glass bottles. But what else is trending in the soft... What do people have when they have soft drinks with you at Savoy?
I mean, we don't have a massive range. I mean, obviously we have a few different tonics, and I think we have different flavors. You have always your classics for your drinks as well, with ginger beer. Work work well on, if people is not drinking, it's gonna be like a flavored tonic, or ginger flavored kind of lemonade. People quite like it, yeah.
But you see, I'm a Philistine. I think a Campari and soda is a low.
It's a low.
It's a low, isn't it? Low alcohol.
Well,
I mean, or is it?
it's a lower
For me.
beverage to a martini. Yes.
Well, yes. Someone say, so do you want a low, Alex? I'll say, oh, Campari and soda.
Yeah, a gin and tonic, please. Yeah, absolutely.
What about you, James? Do you like making mocktails?
I like making mocktails.
Because I think for some people that's like, oh God, but then some people it's a challenge. They're like, oh, how can I recreate that? So tell us about that.
Well, actually, it's when people come to the bar and usually and ask for a soft drink or non-alcoholic, I say Cokes, juices, etc. Otherwise, I can make a mocktail. And then I go, oh, okay then.
Yeah.
And it's usually just basically a combination of different juices. Put a bit of lime juice in it, maybe a bit of sugar, grenadine maybe, depending on what my mood is. I don't have anything written down really for mocktail. It's more looking at the weather outside and what I would like to drink and make it. And usually they go. They're quite popular.
And is Seedlip still the big brand, is it, that's doing that? Or are lots of people have copied them?
I'm not too sure. I mean, how? I mean, you're probably more better placed to answer that one.
Get bigger and bigger every year, I think, especially. It's way more brands than Seedlip now on the markets, and I think they're also more interesting brand as well.
Right, they were just
I think Seedlip has started the lead of having non-alcoholic spirits. However, I'm not a big fan of them because most of them, I think, there's just like flavored water. I mean, they have no body into it, and I think it's hard to recreate alcohol when you want to create non-alcoholic. And also, it's like, I mean, it's well taken by consumers. Consumers are ready to pay for it as well. That was quite interesting. But I personally think that there is way more options. I think for a bar where you probably not going to have a space to develop some drinks and handcraft some drinks, I think is fantastic because it gives you the chance to offer something to your customers who lack non-alcoholic drinks. However, I find actually non-alcoholic beverage more interesting to work on research and development rather than alcoholic cocktails. Because when you work on alcoholic cocktails, is your body of a drink is your spirits. So you have kind of lead on it. And when you start to develop a drink, you're going to have a concept. It may go right, may go wrong, maybe you end up to completely something different. But it's going to be always lead to that spirit and kind of balance what you want to create. Rather than non-alcoholic, there is not defined. It's going to be really on the flavor profile what you want to work on. And I think like cold brew cheese, cordials is so much to do there. The only thing is just like, it's challenging. It's also a lot of production. The life shelf is really short. It's not really practical for bars, but cost-wise it's better. So it's, I think it's a market there definitely, yes, and get bigger and bigger. But it's just interesting how also it's been like a topic. I think like 5 years, 10 years ago, it was not a big topic as now as well.
Yeah.
I think
it's also the rise of dry January. Because dry January about 10, 15 years ago, people mentioned it, but it wasn't quite as popular. But nowadays I feel like it is.
I think the popularity is waning. I think it was more popular a couple of years ago. And I think also, what was quite interesting when we looked at the trends document earlier, the mocktail wasn't featuring for this year, whereas it did for last. So I just wonder if we're coming off the crest of that sort of low and sort of mocktail type wave that was popular. I think and perhaps because obviously we're talking about what's being sold in bars and what have you, and I just think people should drink whatever suits them, whatever they want. There's you should do what you're comfortable with, shouldn't you? And to know your own limits is always quite useful.
Maybe non-alcoholic beers though maybe are more popular than
probably, yeah. But they've always been around.
Yeah.
I think they've just been rebranded, haven't they? Slightly, yeah.
Well, I think also it's a mixture of generation trends as well. I think also is a wording, because when you say mocktail, you're gonna refer for a drink for, let's say, child rather like for an adult.
Yeah.
So I think it's when also really farther in with this say no low ABV cocktails, rather like mocktails, and also, as you say, when I started bartending as well, it was like, oh, let's do a mocktail. It was like, oh yeah, fruit juice together, right?
Yeah.
Rather than today is way more than that. And I think also it's starting to get their own category in a way that it's a modifier. There are a lot of new brands starting up, having like small startup and saying I'd call them as a modifier. It's mean that you can use it a cocktail or not a cocktail. So you can also use an alcoholic beverage, what they produce, to use in your cocktail development. So that's quite right now in kind of mixing world, getting a bit more trendy as well. And I think it's just as well, I went to Singapore last year and I went to a bar based just on non-alcoholic drink. And it's been actually fantastic.
Yeah. Right.
It's just like been also younger generation tend to drink a bit less than the previous one. I'm
so I've been told, but I haven't seen it with the
me
young
neither.
people I know.
I drink more. I'm a drinker as well, so it's hard to say, but it's what's said. And I think generally also because of fitness and all this topic around, people like tend to be like a bit more what's good for me, what's bad for me, rather than before it was like let's drink. And
when did you start bartending, Markus?
I started bartending was 19 actually.
When you were 19?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Started 9 years ago now. Been a bit of a while.
Wow.
Started to drink also with 19. Funny fact about myself. But yeah.
When did you have your first drink?
I think me and my best mate had some beers in Cyprus when we were like 12, 13, but I don't know.
Yeah.
When was that? 93 or something.
Yeah. James?
After your answer, I feel better about mine. Yeah,
They were-
13, 14,
okay. I was a bit. Probably sounds terrible. I'll probably get a shot at this, but I was a bit younger than that. My father used to give me a little bit of his beer
Oh yeah.
when we were, he'd probably get locked away now, But it was. He had a theory that it's like, if it wasn't kind of forbidden fruit kind of thing, it would
But that,
it would make it,
that's big in France, isn't it?
Yeah.
Drinking that bit like a.
Yeah, it is.
Is it annoying when people say
I actually drink coffee like quite young. I started, I think I was 10 or something like that.
okay.
Because a lot of kids don't like coffee.
Yeah,
it's
but
not
I quite liked
if
it
you
actually,
like
funny
it.
wise. But alcohol, absolutely not. I don't know. I always been quite particular with smell. I mean, I'm French, but I'm like cheese. You know, it's like kind of like, yeah, are you really French? Yes, I am. But you know, it's I'm born in the region of Champagne. I never drink champagne, or maybe once until start to drink. So it's I think it's just I'm really particular. But generally in France, you also start to drink younger. Generally, all my friends started out already a bit younger than I. So.
Okay. And how do you feel about coming from born in the region of Champagne? How do you feel about sort of rise of other sparkling wines and English sparkling wine? It's huge.
Yeah, that's quite huge.
I mean,
Prosecco has certainly kind of like had this like just
Well, the English sparkling wine is actually Prosecco method, most of it.
Yeah, it is.
Which people don't know.
Spanish, which is Carver.
But one of my family have actually got a vineyard just outside Brighton, and he's actually this year doing a champagne method because but he's actually grown his champagne grapes in the UK, and he's got a bit of chalk and apparently it's quite rare to have this particular chalk which you need to grow the champagne grape. So I'm looking forward to. I'll bring you a bottle. I mean, I should be a
Really have. Just to prove it, I'm gonna open my
okay.
pouch.
Well, I think if we put that in a, I'm not sure we could. Oh wow! You really have got chalk. Where did you get that from?
From my pouch. It's for climbing. What you put on your hands when you're climbing.
There's a lot of hills outside Brighton, isn't there?
Okay, so
But,
thoughts on sparkling?
yeah.
What about you? Do you like sparkling, Jane?
I'm not big on the bubbles, not big on sparkling. I mean, I know my red wine because I'm from I'm Tuscany, from the Chianti area, near about. So I'm familiar with wine. I'm come from a small village, so every time someone comes by, like the farmer from down the road, he always brings his own version of the Chianti, which some of them are really nice, some of them are
Terrible.
vinegar.
Do we sell much sparkling here?
We do actually.
For events and things.
Because I feel like it's bubbles, prosecco. It's nice to sort of. It's a nice glass as well, and I know you like your glasses.
I do like. Yeah.
I quite like my
So
champagne.
people like to walk around with their champagne glass
Yeah.
and look at art or look sophisticated.
I mean, I'm not. I'm not. I mean, to find a good prosecco in the UK is hard. I would say. I think if you're probably better having an English sparkling made the prosecco by the prosecco method.
Like this,
The method. Yeah. But
okay. Well, we've got a few mins left. We can talk about snacks if you want.
ooh,
Snacks.
what snacks do they have in the Savoy? Not these, I bet.
We're trying some pub snacks here. There's one bag left of these, so I thought I'd bring that to offer.
Well, that's right. What are they?
I don't know.
They're dry roasted peanuts.
Expertly
Do you like
crafted.
peanuts?
Definitely, yeah.
Am I allowed to open these?
Yeah,
Okay. Oh, thank you.
Look, this is good sustainability.
Oh, I'm not a guest, am I? I'm a host. Damn. It's all right, I'm just trying to be hygienic for camera.
We're just trying out
There you
different
go.
snacks at the moment because, traditionally, people had a few drinks and need some
Quite
food,
nice.
And
I quite like
commercially,
peanuts.
It keeps them in the bar longer, apparently.
Also, if they're salty, it makes them drink more.
Drink more, yeah.
But yeah, there's loads of tricks around snacks. Crisps, and then I found these. I didn't even know we did these, but
Oh, Haribo's.
They sort of appeared on the bar.
in the shape of lips. Oh no, strawberries.
Is it?
Want one of those?
I'm okay on that. Do you want
Good more in the peanuts.
More peanuts. Oh, there's some pistachios here. But yeah, what are you snack? We've got pickled onions as well.
That's great for
And
Gibson.
You
love that drink.
Cocktail reference. So yeah, and cherries we talked about last time.
Yeah, I love cherries.
Handy last time. We also haven't talked to our audience.
We haven't.
Really huge
They've been very
audience
quiet, aren't they?
But and they got a bit rowdy last time
They
because we
did.
passed some drinks around.
They started
told-
asking questions as well, which was a bit
We've been
off-putting.
told we can't pass drinks to the audience because it gets too loud.
Okay.
So there's no hands are going up.
Nothing you and either of you'd like to ask?
No, I've got the experts in the room.
No. I know there's one member of the audience. He has a cocktail machine.
Oh wow!
Throws everything in, presses a
Well,
button.
that sounds brilliant.
Yeah, which was acquired during lockdown.
Oh, that's a good machine. I was at the airport the other week in the lounge bit, and they had a pancake machine, which is one of the greatest things I've ever seen. You just You just press the button. You can't see any of the mechanics. You press the button, and then these pancakes come out.
That's quite good.
Have you ever seen one of those?
No, I've seen one. No.
Anyway.
Everything will be automated, AI and automation.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
There was a bar up in Holborn, out of Soho. We talk about that sometimes. And it was all robotics pouring the drinks. Did you go to that place?
Never been actually, no.
I don't think it's there anymore, but it was there for at least 6 months, maybe a year. Did you?
I didn't go, but I
Do you
do
know
know
where it
that I do know that a few years ago, everyone was expecting it to become more automated on the
really
cocktail making
yeah.
side, which comes back to the pre-batching, isn't it?
Pre-batch.
Yeah, I mean,
From a machine.
But it had like robotic arms, like, you know, moving all the drinks around. I mean, I don't know. Like,
Yeah,
it feels like a bit of a. Yeah.
that's the thing.
His face says it.
That's the thing. I mean, well, obviously take our job, so we're not going to be happy about it. Because at the end of the day, it's how we live, right? This is how we go pay the bill at the end of the day. So
Well, yeah.
And what's kept you in bartending? 39 years of bartending.
9 years.
9 years, 39. Where
39.
did that come from?
Good
He
age.
wasn't even born then.
I'm
I'm going to have to get you a calculator. aren't I?
Yeah. 9 years bartending. What's kept you in?
I think the passion for hospitality and drink making. And I mean, I always had set quite a big goal in my life. I've always been like passionate about what I'm doing. And one day I woke up and I said, oh, I want to work at the Savoy. I know it sounds quite a bit cheesy, but it's what I had, that kind of like dream. I was always dreaming for something for myself, being success and define my success for myself. Been trying always setting goals, and you know, it was like kind of like first goal, well, all right, I like bartending, so let's keep going on that. Where I stopped my studies, threw everything on the side. My mom started to have more grey hair and say, what's going on? And get a bit flipped on and say, okay, well, let's do it. Let's see what you got to do with that. And I continued to purchase my dreams and, you know, bartender, supervisor, assistant bar manager. And at some point, I saw it was too small and I say, you know what, I want to go to the UK, I want to go to London. Because at that time, and still until today, it was most of the best bartender in the world, and also all the brands around and what more stuff to do around bartending and make it be more professional. Because at the end of the day, bartending is a small line between professional and alcoholic. or actually someone who has a job, you know. And I think it's always until today, and I had quite like probably the five first year of bartending where I was drinking quite a lot, have a lot of fun, but also always kind of like has the goal, end goal to myself, and say, all right, one day I want to work in a luxury property and the Savoy. Always been saying having over 100 years, one of the best well-known bars in the world. So I was kind of like, you know, dreaming of that. And it's made me move to London, and actually, without knowing that, because of Brexit and needed a visa, I slept again into a manager position, and grew up as well. And I think that's quite what is interesting in London. It's like how you can get professional in hospitality to compare to different parts of Europe, because most of the businesses in hospitality are leads by otherwise in Europe by chain or by small business, especially in Austria, as a small country, is 9 million inhabitants. It's the same than actually London population. So it's most of the lead by families. So once you reach a certain kind of like position, head bartender, let's say, or even bar manager, you're not really managing something because you're the family of the hotel or the family of the business going to manage the whole business. So you can't grow it. Rather than in London, I had the chance to grow. And I say 9 years is actually went really fast because you always kind of redefine yourself. And can get to a point where I actually say, oh, that's something new where you learn. And I mean, today I'm probably taking more time to learn skill without mixing drinks, rather like mixing drinks, because my job now is also, I had my career, I always learn by myself from my books, but now my job as well is leading people to success as well and make them have a career. So it's quite interesting. It's also a different development.
So you're training now,
exactly,
developing people who work, who report to you.
I think that's the beauty of that.
Yeah.
It's like, if you are in cities like London, I think you have a chance to grow yourself that far that also you can have different way of growing yourself rather than just making drinks.
Yeah.
But also, you're quite social.
Yeah, you have to.
It has. Yeah, I mean, I think. Yeah. I mean,
are
are you quite social? I mean, yeah. You think you're quite social? Friendly. Yeah.
The job, and it's the reason why, you know, robots AI are not taking away our jobs anytime soon.
Well, hopefully not. I mean, the reason why you go for a bar is because you want to see people have a conversation. I think bars is like a living room. It doesn't matter if it's a pub, if it's the pub around the corner or a fancy cocktail bar. On the end of the day, it's a reason why you're going out. As you had a good day, is why I think you're having a drink. It's just because you want to escape the reality of the day, and that's what provides you bartenders and bars.
Yeah, because that was what the Little Door Group did. They based it on a living room.
Yeah,
because they're opening the Violet Door, aren't they?
that's right. We've got
Yeah,
one in
recently.
Soho,
Yeah,
Scarlet
Scarlet,
Door
yeah.
on Greek Street. We should talk a little bit more about other places and so. We talked a lot about what we're drinking and trends, but other favourite spots, James, you got any tips you want to give people for where to go and have a pint or a drink? Or
I really like Café Bohème here in Soho.
French vibe.
It's a very good place for a first date.
Yeah, and you've got a
Ah.
lovely horseshoe bar that you can sit around, and then in the back it's food.
Yeah, and it's open till late as well, which is very good for bartenders.
3 a.m. I think it's got down there.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Do you know actually what's really good as well? El Camion. It's always El Camion.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's still got the club downstairs,
Yeah,
hasn't
exactly,
it?
yeah.
And that's so it's up quite,
It's always been kind of like
Yeah.
later on tequila drinks, nachos until late.
Yeah, but we've got some really small, funky bars now, like it's the White Duke, isn't it? That's on Great Wimble Street. That's quite a small bar.
It used to
Yeah.
be Soho Radio.
Yeah,
didn't
it did,
I think,
and
'cause
they've
that's where
changed.
they
Yeah.
used to do radio
Yeah,
shows.
yeah.
Have you heard about Bozos? This is the new hot
No.
spot
Is
between
it?
9 and midnight.
Oh, I have
It's
actually.
getting
Isn't that
going.
here?
I don't think it's here, no. It's
Which
in
one's that?
Soho
Is it?
somewhere.
All right.
It's all the lot of them talking about Bozos. Because apparently there's a window of time when, like, you kind of go out to your art dues and your events, and then there's not many places to go between 9 and midnight. That's when other things get going. The late night spots get going.
But I think a lot of the I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but do you find that people are going home a bit earlier than pre-lockdown? Do you think that's still a thing?
I'm out of it. I arrived after lockdown.
It's not when you're in a hotel bar because you're led by the.
Yeah, I suppose you're not. But
I mean,
but you were at other places for quite a while, weren't you?
me decent. I mean, I was at the place quite a while before. I was
You were at Fallow before, there for a while, yeah.
in Peter Circus,
Yeah.
St James Market. I mean, it was it's a restaurant. It's a restaurant. So it's like interesting because we were like kind of until midnight most of the time. Weekends maybe a bit longer, but also because of the licensing in London is quite also a tricky one.
Tricky, yeah.
Yeah.
It's always like kind of like I think around midnight most of the time, like everything to do with drinks late, venues. Like seen as a bar or pub gonna close down, and after it's gonna be late night, kind of more clubbing. And yeah, come back to hotels, bars. I mean, we open until 1 at the Beaufort Bar, for example. We can have more late night bar, let's say, for a hotel. The American bar closes at 12. So I think it's generally
That's quite early, isn't it?
Yeah,
I
I mean,
was
it's
surprised
generally.
by that, yeah.
I think for after 12 o'clock, you don't want to have a fancy cocktail anymore. I think you just want to have like something easy to drink. And it's a different kind of entertainment for yourself.
Okay, quick question. Espresso martini at the beginning of the night or the end of the night?
Always beginning. You don't want that coffee sitting on your stomach.
It's actually a good question. You know what?
The last time I drank espresso martinis was at an Oscar party, which screens in Los Angeles. So we were drinking them all night. So we drank them.
You covered both bases.
We started at 10 p.m. and finished at 5 a.m.
Yeah.
And I haven't really had one since. I think I'd had my lifetime.
Yeah, probably, yes. I mean, it's different how strong a coffee is, but I think you can't drink it all night just for the next day. You're not going to sleep properly.
Yeah.
Not probably well.
I always like it at the end.
Yeah,
I actually sleep better if I have it at the end
Really?
for some bizarre reason. I sleep better.
Coffee,
Which is
you build an intolerance.
doesn't make
to
sense,
coffee.
does it?
You drink a lot of coffee. There's a famous story about Bar Italia down in Soho, which is not on this picture, is it? But it's got a big neon sign outside. That they had like a espresso drinking competition, like they did back in the 50s or whatever. And I'm not telling the story very well because I can't remember all the detail, but people, espresso drinking competition, because if you drink loads, you can just build this tolerance.
Okay.
So.
But I'm not a big coffee drinker. If I drink coffee,
Yeah.
I can't drink coffee at night, but I can do an
You can do
espresso
espresso
martini.
How-
And it's it's very, very
I don't
strange.
think
It's
it's
coffee,
legal.
though. I think it's vodka in it.
I think it's the vodka. But vodka,
Coffee is in an espresso martini, really. Like how much? Like a little shot, and it's all
Double shot.
double shot. Okay, but the fact it's gone cold, does that make a difference to its intensity? No.
It's depending on the coffee what you have, how quality-wise coffee is, and how strong it is. I think generally, there's some coffee that's stronger than over.
Then some that's stronger. Yeah.
There's some nice coffee on the market as well now where they are actually really strong. So you get a really nice dose of coffee.
Well, that's when we can pick up with a future guest who knows about coffee.
I think so. Yeah.
But we do like to always talk about espresso martini because that is another drink that was invented in Soho.
Yeah, and it's still in the top 10.
It's in the top 10,
Yeah.
along with the porn star martini, also
Yeah, invented in Soho. Yeah.
I think we should all go and have sex on the beach. The ingredients for that here.
Well, I've got my passport.
Right, well, so I think we've covered everything. We may get asked to do something piece to camera bit. I don't know because it's all this pre-recorded stuff.
Piece to camera.
Well, I don't know. I'm just.
What would you
guessing.
like?
I'm just guessing. I mean, we've kind of covered the episode.
We've covered it. We've covered everything.
Covered episode 2, Potions of Soho.
What would you like
We've
us to
got
do
2
to camera?
Brilliant guests.
Maybe announce
James
what
and
we're gonna
Markus. Oh, sorry. Go on.
maybe announce what we're going to be talking next episode.
We must mention episode 3.
It is,
point,
yeah.
Alex.
Yeah,
You're
and
excited about
I
next
am.
week
Yeah, we've got
with our live studio audience.
we
We'll
have,
be on
yes.
time this time because we will tell them
Yeah.
the correct time. Next week we've got
Marco from Bar Termini.
Marco from Coffee.
Yeah. He's talking about coffee, isn't he? Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah.
And he is involved in Bar Termini, but I think it's Marco from Coffee.
Okay. Have I just put my foot? You'll probably have to cut that.
We'll just do, and then haven't we got Alan from Jerry's?
No, we haven't. We've got we've got Max from Three Sheets.
Oh God, let's start this again.
Let's start again. Okay, right.
This is
Episode
why I
3.
like doing live. I make mistakes and say things like 39 years
Okay,
when we meant 9
right.
years.
Okay. Right, so who have we got next week, Joel?
Well, next week is episode 3,
Okay.
and we're back on talking about the espresso martini because we've got Marco from Coffee,
Indeed.
who's got his own coffee brand.
And we've got Max from Three Sheets.
They're old mates, you know.
Are they? All right.
That's
Okay.
partly why we
Yeah,
pair them
yeah.
together. Now,
But-
Three Sheets, if you haven't been, is one of Soho's newest bars. I would say Soho's newest bar.
Oh,
I
I
don't think anyone's opened since they've opened. They opened about 3 weeks ago.
no, I think it probably is the newest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So
it's
we'll be
it's
with
quite a
you.
fancy bar. They have quite sort of
Yeah, we
novelty
talked about that
novelty-led
last week with the
cocktails.
novelty glass
Yeah.
That's got the
Yeah.
the duck in, and I've told him
Yeah.
he's got to bring one to the show.
I like the word fancy.
Okay.
I don't know why.
um,
Just sharing.
I might have another go at saying the names. Today's guests, because I didn't do so well at that.
Yeah, so we're doing the
Can't do
intro
really
again.
right. We've got 2 guests today on episode.
And you do
2.
realise that Blaze is going to keep all this and just put it on at the
Yeah.
end as an
I'm
outgo.
not
Isn't better.
Sorry.
That's all right. Today's guests are for episode 2 are Markus Bassett from the Savoy Hotel, but specifically the Beaumont Bar.
Beaufort Bar.
Beaufort.
Beaufort Bar.
It's the Beaufort Bar. It's
Yeah.
quite a famous bar.
It's famous, but there's also the American bar there. But
Yeah.
that only closes at midnight.
It does. The
Yeah.
other one stays open
I know,
later.
that's the old school one.
It's a naughty.
like-
It's a naughty bar.
We have a naughty bar and we have a beautiful
Yeah,
bar.
yeah,
Markus Bassett from the Beaumont Bar
yeah.
at
'Cause
the Savoy
yeah.
Hotel.
To
And
Beaufort.
I've done it again. I should really-
So did Marilyn Monroe go to the Beaufort Bar?
No, because it wasn't open at the time. The Beaufort Bar opened like
How
10
many
years,
mistakes
13 years
can we
ago.
make in 5 minutes?
So she went to the American bar
Yes.
because she used to. Marilyn Monroe used to hang out at the Savoy.
You sure?
I'm sure she did
Yeah,
because
we're
they
picture of her,
they
at least.
sold they
Opened
sold
30
all.
years ago, and you've been
all her
bartending 39
memorabilia.
years. James is here. James may feature again because he runs our bar here.
I know.
So and
yeah.
we've got the trolley now, so we
Yeah.
might need him to pop in and make a drink. Is anyone going to finish that Negroni? It's been sat there.
Well, I think we can.
I
do you two want to try it? The
No,
audience.
we're not allowed to let the audience try. Remember the rules. I'm going to introduce James. Tony
We're
wants to go
saving
off
it.
there. James Pete Barabini. Barbieri. James Pete Barbieri.
Would you like me to
from-
say it?
Yes, please.
Okay, we've got James Pete Barbieri from our very own All Is Joy Bar, 75 Dean Street, and we've got Markus Bassett from the Beaufort Bar at the Savoy Hotel.
That was
And
very
those-
well delivered, Alex.
Yeah, thank you.
Only one slip up, but all good. Right, team,
yeah.
cheers. Let's give us a cheers. And we'll see you all next
Cheers.
week on Potions of... Yeah, so
Nothing in it. I'm dry. That's a rare thing. I think we should go and sort that out, don't you guys?
Yeah.